Burrows into the leg, now single, has it up in the air, Chamizo. Fantastic defense.
Focus on these 7 key details if you want your defense like 2-time world champ Frank Chamizo. Number 1, you need to be able to stay in the fight longer. Most people only have a couple lines of defense. For example, Will might shoot on a high crotch. You may have a sprawl, and then they go to cut the corner. You may be able to try to grab the ankle, but if you miss the ankle, that's all you got, you get taken down. Chamizo is able to extend these scrambles. He has an answer for everything. So if we redo this scramble, Will goes to shoot in, I go to sprawl, maybe I go to grab that ankle, but Will cuts the corner. Even here, he still wrestles from the split position. Maybe I go to a switch of my own, I go reach in for a high crotch, I start sitting through, Will continues to wrestle, maybe faces me here, limp arm out, back to Whizzer. Will goes to pick the leg up to his feet, gets it into his armpit, still able to wrestle here. It's how long can you guys scramble from these positions? How many answers do you guys have for when your opponent is trying to finish? Can you wrestle from the handstand position? Even if you go to kick and slip your leg free, when Will goes to hold on, are you able to continue to wrestle? Or do you just kick, and if it doesn't work, they get the takedown? Are you able to stand back up and wrestle into him here? Go for a funk roll. Or not a funk roll in freestyle, but go to kick your leg free. Maybe Will still holds on, and he starts facing me here. Are you able to wrestle from here? So how long can you guys scramble? Do you have an answer? Can you keep the action going? Because whoever is the one that stops the chain of wrestling, whoever the one who doesn't have the answer, is the one that's gonna get scored on.
This is Beat the Streets, Jordan Burroughs versus Frank Chamizo. Watch how well Frank Chamizo stays in the fight. You think it's over. Jordan Burroughs got the double leg. Frank Chamizo's in a handstand. There's no way he's gonna be able to get out of this position. But he stays in the fight all the way until he's able to recover to a chest wrap position and hold on and create a stalemate position. This is why you guys have to stay in the fight and not give up the takedowns as easily as you are.
Number 2, Frank Chamizo keeps a heavy lead leg. This makes it almost impossible for people to get to his back leg. And because he gets so many reps where people are shooting in on his left leg, he feels so comfortable here. Imagine all you had to worry about is defending one leg, and you feel comfortable balancing on this leg, you know how to hit all the techniques. When the person shoots to that leg, you get all your reps here, you're gonna be very good at defending that left leg. And that's why I recommend most people focusing on keeping one leg forward. Because not only can you attack at any time, but you only allow people to get that forward leg.
Frank Chamizo is so comfortable when people get on his left leg. That's really the only leg people are able to get to. Watch how great of a defense he has from this position. He is so comfortable in the shin whizzer. Even when somebody grabs that far ankle, he can scooch out of that position. And you'll see him often hit this whizzer kick position as well.
Number 3, Chamizo does not let people double off. In order for somebody to score points, they have to, most of the time, get a double. So for example, if he's on a high crotch, if he wants to score, he has to go double and knock me to my hip. If he's in a crackdown, high crotch position, if he wants to score, he has to shelf and go double. If he's in a single leg position and he wants to score, he has to attack backside and get the double. He does a good job of not only not allowing people to get the double, you'll see him often when people are in a high crotch, he's blocking here, blocking this hand or underhooking this to prevent that double from happening. But even if people do get a double, say somebody shot a double right off the beginning, he does a great job of forcing the person onto one leg. When somebody has 2 legs, you need to get them to 1. You can peel the arm off, force them to 1. You'll see a unique one that I'll show Frank Chamizo doing in a second, where he knees the guy into the chest and switches them to a single leg here. But when somebody gets to a double, Frank Chamizo gets them back to a single. And you guys need to make sure you're doing that. 1, prevent the double from happening. 2, if they do get a double, peel it off. Twist your hips in a way that forces them to a single. Double, they need to be square here. I need to be sideways. I can peel. It's much harder for him to wrestle me when you have that heavy lead leg like we talked about. And that's why, another little point going back to number 2, if you have a heavy lead leg, you keep your one leg really far back, it's so hard to get a double. So hard to blast double. That's why you rarely see in all the matches where Jordan Burroughs and Frank Chamizo wrestle each other, Jordan Burroughs struggles so much to get his double leg off.
Check out these 4 examples of people getting double legs and Frank Chamizo working out of there. This next one was super unique. Knees the guy in the face or in the chest to get him off that double leg, switch into a single, and then hustle to a re-attack. This one here, his opponent gets to a double leg, and he grabs it and rips it off. Take the arm off your leg. Get him back to a single leg position. The last one, his opponent tries to double off, kind of underneath, right? So people have to get 2 legs to score. So he goes to reach across underneath. It doesn't matter how they're trying to get the double leg. You can't allow it to happen. Open your hips up and score the takedown.
If you've been enjoying these instructional videos and you want to level up your wrestling, get more personal help, building out your wrestling system, getting your matches reviewed, check out my online wrestling academy. Link is posted in the description and the pinned comment. You can get a 7-day free trial. Start it today and let's level up your wrestling. Number 4, Frank Chamizo is super strong in the quad pod position. This is more for freestyle. If I can stay on my hands, my feet, whether it be 2 feet or my foot shelved, if I can stay here, it is not a takedown until my knees hit, or my elbow hits, or my stomach hits. He's so stingy. Going back to that first detail, he stays in the fight, even in that quad pod position. A lot of times, we'll pretend this is the out of bounds line right here, this yellow. He'll be right here, almost taken down, and he stays super, super strong and gives up the push out, right? His hand comes out of bounds, he gives the push out instead of giving up the 2 points or the full takedown. So again, that's more for freestyle, but get strong here. You know, I see him even like able to stay way out here, super low. He has a very strong leg, very strong core, but it just goes back to the fact that you guys got to stay in the fight.
Let's check out a couple examples of Frank Chamizo staying in this quad pod position and making it super difficult for his opponents to get the score. In this case, didn't get taken down. Here, Jordan Burroughs has that single in the air. He's doing a good job defending it. He's getting beat backside here. Jordan Burroughs gets on top. He's near the out of bounds, right? So he just walks himself right out, stays in that quad pod position, only gives up the 1. This time his opponent's on that single again, going backside. He's trying to defend the single first, doesn't go right to quad pod. But once his opponent beats him backside, he goes to the quad pod position, stays strong. Again, he's near this out of bounds line. I think they gave him the 2, but I really don't know if he hit his leg in this position. Gets close to the out of bounds, gives an opportunity to only give up the 1 point instead of the 2 takedown. This was a wild, I think he stepped out right there though. But besides the point, Jordan Burroughs again in on Frank Chamizo's leg. Similar position, going to this backside finish, staying in that quad pod position, not giving up the takedown.
Number 5, the Whizzer kick. Frank Chamizo loves forcing this position here. His opponent has a single leg. He goes Whizzer. He'll attack the form. Sometimes he won't attack the form and just post his hand. But he's doing what's known as a Whizzer kick, or in judo, an uchimata. My opponent's trying to pressure into me, maybe trying to push me out of bounds or trying to drive and shelf the leg up. I keep my leg in between. I take a big back step with my leg that's planted, and I lean and elevate my leg in between his legs. So I step back, I lean, elevate, and throw him over. If you throw them over their back, it's 4 points in freestyle. Or a lot of times you might just defend the shot, right? So if I go for it, kind of post and stay on your stomach. So I'm gonna go for this position here. I may just throw them down to here, slide off. I can go behind, or at least not give up the takedown. You can do this when your opponent has a single leg, or if you break the single leg and pull them up. If they have the single leg, you're gonna have to get your leg down to the mat a little bit more, and you need his lock a little higher. It's kind of hard to hit the technique if he's down at the knee or below the knee. It's hard to get enough leverage here. A lot of times you see people do cutbacks instead. Whizzer or overhook. I'm a lot of times attacking the wrist, trying to pull my leg down. I step my leg back. I can post my hand on the mat, you'll see that often. And then I'm just turning. I can keep hopping backwards, turning, throwing him over to his back.
Let's check out a couple examples of Frank Chamizo using this Whizzer kick to defend these shots. And it's very often that it happens towards the out of bounds line, because when people are near the out of bounds, they really try to drive you out, right? If Frank Chamizo's back's towards the out of bounds, people are gonna really try to drive you out of bounds. Once they go to drive you out of bounds, you have that good pressure to actually turn and hit this whizzer kick. So like you'll see with these examples, most of them, the person's trying to drive them, maybe get the takedown, but bring them towards that out of bounds line. So they have a lot of forward pressure. And this allows Frank Chamizo to whizzer kick and change positions and end up scoring the points. This last one, he ends up losing the whizzer kick and coming inside. Let's take a look at that one again, because that was pretty interesting. Burroughs ends up around the waist. Frank Chamizo goes to whizzer kick, but his leg slips behind. He windmills inside, kind of reaches for essentially a high crotch on the opposite side, and continues to wrestle through that position.
Number 6. Frank Chamizo is good at this handstand position. So if his opponents get the single leg up in the air, whether they're on the inside or outside, he knows how to wrestle here. He has a couple different techniques that you'll see him use. One is he'll do a limp leg, right? He'll step forward with his free leg, pull his knee to his chest, and try to rip his leg free and face his opponent. Another technique you'll see is this kick over. He'll take his free leg, he'll throw it over top of his opponent's head, and he'll tend to do this when his opponent has the single leg tight. So Will has this tight. I go to step my leg over top, and I pull him to the mat here. I'm using my body weight to pull him down, and then he wrestles from this position, right? Attacking the ankle, attacking a high crotch, and scoring from there. It's just important that you don't expose your back if you're wrestling freestyle from these positions, right? So you have to kick your leg over, but keep your chest towards the mat here and wrestle from here, okay? Then the last one that I see him do, there's probably more, is if his opponent has a leg on the outside, he goes for this switch position. I normally don't like attacking the far leg because it puts you in a position where you can get cradled, but what you'll notice Frank Chamizo does is he pulls with the leg that his opponent has. So he pulls him to the mat. So as he goes to the switch, he's pulling this leg down so that he's able to prevent these cradle positions. Just like the one we did earlier. When you step and kick over, I'm not in a great position if Will was upright into me. This is not a great position to be in, right? But if I can pull my heel to the mat and knock Will down, now I'm in a position where I can wrestle a lot easier. So that's something that I see a little bit different that he does, is whatever leg they have, he's whipping them to the mat as he goes to attack these legs. And I'll add one more that Chamizo doesn't really do, but Yanni does it and I like to do it. So maybe Frank Chamizo should add this to his wrestling if he already likes to wrestle from the handstand position. But this is where you attack the near leg and you go to a headstand and then you kick them in the chest to wrestle from that position there and score. So go to a headstand, attack the ankle, the near ankle, and kick your leg free.
Here's 3 examples of Frank Chamizo using the handstand position to score. First one, he goes for an inside switch or a high crotch of his own. Jordan Burroughs attacks a single leg, elevates it in the air. Frank Chamizo leans over to the handstand position, reaches in for his own leg, elevates it up in the air quickly, adds a sweep, and gets on top to get the takedown. Next position, again, his opponent gets on a single leg. He ends up in the handstand position, kicks over, grabs the ankle, all while not exposing his back, right? This isn't folk style, so he can't do a funk roll. He has to keep his chest towards the mat. Let's check that out again in slow motion. His opponent gets to a single leg. Chamizo brings his hands to the mat and whips his leg over to bring his opponent's head and hands to the mat, controls the ankle, and uses his legs to kick his opponent backwards. Ends up coming out the back door himself, and ultimately ends up scoring the position. Last one here, his opponent gets to a head outside single. Frank Chamizo is blocking the double leg, staying on his feet. This time he just kicks his leg free. One little detail I want to point out is watch how he's blocking this double from happening. His hand is on that tricep. He doesn't want his opponent to reach across to get the double. Right when they shelf it up, he flicks his leg free and avoids the takedown.
Number 7, and this is probably where he scores the most and the most important one. Don't let your opponent touch your legs in the first place and be quick to go behind. A lot of people focus on wrestling from this front headlock position. So when Will goes to shoot in, they stop shots and they wrestle from the front headlock. Ideally though, you want to score as fast as possible. And as somebody goes to shoot in, you want to find a way behind them. You'll see Frank Chamizo use snaps through this, which isn't really defense. I would say it's more offensive when you're snapping and going. But when he can, he's scoring quickly. So even a position where Will has a single, say, and I sprawl him all the way down, we'll turn this way. I sprawl you all the way down. If Will goes to let go, immediately hustling behind and getting the score.
Check out the hustle and the speed of these go-behinds. Sometimes he snaps his opponent to the mat and hustles behind. Sometimes his opponents shoot on him. But he's always looking for a quick go-behind if possible. Right here, there's some upper body action. He drops off and hustles, gets behind the hips and scores the takedown. Same thing here. His opponent drops in, misses his legs. He hustles behind and gets the takedown.
If you guys like that and you want to see Cael Sanderson's entire takedown series that made him the most dominant and best wrestler in the history of college wrestling, click the video right here.